Hey, Dan here, and we have another episode of Askdan. And today's question comes from Olga in Russia. And here we go. Hi, Dan. I hope you're doing fine. I'm 24, and here's my story. My self-confidence is good on average, but when I'm having a struggle, I can't accept it easily. I cry sometimes. I studied to become a programmer, and it's a completely new topic for me, but I really want to become a programmer. I like it when my programs work, but when they don't and I don't know how to fix them, I feel worthless and I stop doing it and start being lazy. It's not really about programming itself. It's more about who I am, my patterns. I've realized that I'm behaving like a child. I recall myself as a fifth grade student when I couldn't resolve a math task at home and no one could help me. I felt like I'm a wreck and stupid. I've read lots of books about this topic, but they don't help me. Maybe I'm a little bit, but still that 10-year-old girl with that math task. Every time when I have a situation which I don't know how to resolve, history is repeating itself. I'm crying or feeling like I'm falling apart. My life is actually getting better, and I'm using some techniques, but I still, when it comes to some difficulties, I don't know how to help it really. Thank you for your help in advance, and I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Yours sincerely, Olga. Olga, thank you first of all for reaching out with me and being so open and candid with this question. You're definitely not alone with this kind of a struggle. You might have noticed I have a few videos I've done around kind of overcoming adversity and dealing with setbacks and things like that. Now, I think I have some insights into your problem. Before I get into those, I do want to touch just on one thing in terms of emotions and kind of highs and lows. If you find that you have really extreme personality, like you get really set back, if something bad happens, you get really emotional and kind of move back and forth, it might be worth looking at if there's some kind of imbalance just in terms of things like serotonin, dopamine, all those nice brain chemicals. Now, one of the things that I think could be happening here with you is based around your expectations. So at any point, how we feel is based on a couple things. It's based on what we focus on, the language we use around that, and our physiology in our body. And that's why I brought up initially the physiology, to look into, chemicals and things like that if you find you're frequently changing moods that way. But I want to talk about the not intellectual, let's call it mental side of things, in terms of what you're focusing on and your expectations. So do you expect to have struggle or failure? Or are you going into things assuming you should be perfect? If you're going into a new task thinking, I'm going to be the best programmer, I'm going to be the best at math, and I'm not going to ever fail, and then when you fail, you start to tell yourself that you're worthless, that you're stupid. Well, you're setting yourself up, right? That's a recipe to have ups and downs, to beat yourself up, to feel crummy. And so what I would start with looking at is, what are your expectations you're setting for yourself? This comes up in business all the time, is if you expect something to be really easy, your dedication and commitment when it gets tough is going to be very low, and the odds of quitting is quite high. It's one of the problems with, I think, a lot of our world now is based on this expectation of things being easy, whether it's from technology or from internet people telling you it should be easy or whatever, right? When we expect something to be easy, then we lose that resolve to work through the challenges and what's tough. So my hunch is that you've set ridiculously high and unfair expectations of yourself, that you think you need to be perfect, and that when you're not, when you run into a challenge, that really sets you back. So what I'd encourage you to do is to play around with, just like a thought exercise, just experiment with yourself when you're setting out to do something new, like work on a new programming task. Set the expectation, just literally say to yourself, all right, I'm going to fail the first couple times. It's going to be interesting what I learn, and then part of the challenge is to fail and then make it work after, that kind of thing. Set the expectation that you might run into a challenge, that it might not be right or that it won't be right, and you're going to have to fix that, and build that into your expectations. And then that should affect how you feel when you get to that point, right? Our expectations of how things should be play a huge role in how we interpret the results. And to me, that the simple answer seems like you're setting such high expectations for yourself that when things go off track, you beat yourself up and you take it as a personal issue rather than kind of a fun challenge or a game. So I'd encourage you to really treat it like a game. Try adjusting your language as well. My hunch is from your email, you use really tough language on yourself. You beat yourself up way more than you should. If you want to say that you've had a bad day, there's so many ways to say it. Oh yeah, I had a crummy day, I had a bad day, I had a terrible day. My day was devastating. It was the worst day in the whole world, right? No matter how we say that is going to have a different impact on how we feel. The more extreme language we use makes a more extreme emotion, believe it or not. So there's actually kind of a two-way path. The words you're using to describe emotions will affect those emotions and how you experience them. So I would encourage you to become more aware of the words you're using and soften them up on yourself. So when if you run into a problem, rather than tell yourself like, oh, I screwed up, I broke it, I'm a wreck, I made the worst mistake, I ruined it. Say, okay, I made a bit of a woomba. I just made that word up, woomba. See, it's funny. You say woomba, you're not going to be that upset anymore, right? Come up with whatever words, or just use a lighter word that already exists, right? So I would encourage you to set expectations that allow for some challenges and some corrections to your path, rather than assuming things will be perfect right off the bat, as well as just being aware of the language you use and really try lightening that up. Try to be more kind to yourself with the words you're using and how you're dealing with setbacks. And I think that's going to have a big impact on how you feel and deal with those results in terms of sticking to it and dealing with setbacks and adversity. Cool. Thank you again for sending in your question, Olga. And if you're watching this and you have a question you want to ask me, head over to dreamsaroundtheworld.com/askdan, and there you can submit a question and I will answer it. All right? Seems easy. So here to help. Submit your question, share it with me, and other than that, subscribe, become my friend here. I'll be your friend. It's a win-win proposition. And see you in a future video. Ciao.